Good morning, Don Pelayo here, checking in Sunday. I think this is November 30th, right? Last day of November, 2025. Headed over to my parents' house this morning, and I had a lady hit me from behind. I was stopped at a red light, just kind of waiting there for the light to change, and I saw a car coming up, and it was moving very, very slow. And I kept seeing her get closer and closer, and I figured she was going to stop. She didn't stop. She just bumped right into me. Fortunately, there wasn't any damage. I got out and looked at my car. Absolutely no damage. She didn't hit me very hard. But she said she was on her way to New York and that she was really tired. I think she was having some sleep issues. So she was going to pull off at it. There was a gas station close by. So she was going to pull in there and sleep for a little while. And before she continued her journey to New York, she's got another at least 10 hours to drive, so she may need to get a hotel room on the way up there, but I don't know. But be careful out here on the roads. There's people out here driving that have been driving for several hours, are tired. Just be on the lookout. There wasn't much I could do about it because I had a car in front of me and I couldn't really move. I was at a light, so just one of those things, right? Fortunately, no damage, and I'm fine. Again, she didn't really hit me that hard. It was just kind of a wake-up call. I haven't had a bump up in probably more than 15 years. Anyway, that gets my morning off to a fun start. There's a lot going on right now. I feel like, the Trump administration right now is there's a lot that's going on. You've probably heard about Venezuela. Honestly, for me personally, I'm all for shutting down the drugs coming into our country because those drugs are doing harm to our citizens and to our country. So I'm all about that. I don't feel like we need to invade Venezuela or try to push for regime change in Venezuela or anything like that. I'm not really in support of that. I'm supporting whatever it takes for us to stop the narcotics trafficking into the country. I'm all for that, but I don't know if regime change in Venezuela is really necessary for that. But I am a little concerned about that. I feel like the Trump administration's kind of taking the eye off the ball just a little bit. People voted for Trump to fix problems here at home. Yes, the narcotics are a problem, and that's something that we need to deal with, but I think we have some bigger issues to deal with as well. We've got to do something about the debt accumulation, and this is just going to ramp the debt up. I don't know if any of our politicians are taking this debt situation seriously. It doesn't feel like it to me. It just feels like they don't worry about it. It'll be some other politician's problem to deal with. It'll be our children or our grandchildren that have to worry about it. And I hate that. I just hate that. I worry about my two daughters. I have two daughters. My oldest is 21. My youngest will be 14 next weekend. And it's just not fair what we're doing to our children and grandchildren. It's just not. We're going to make their lives harder because of all this debt spending we're doing. There's going to have to be some reckoning. We're going to have to change our tax policy. There's going to have to be some tax changes. There's just too much wealth that's accumulating at the top. And there's just too much wealth accumulating at the top, and not enough is getting down to average families, and it's making it hard for people to have kids. And we need people to be having children because we're shrinking our population in terms of native born. We're bringing in a bunch of people from other countries to make up for it, but it's like, is that really the kind of country we want to be though? It's like, I'm all for bringing in. So, I do believe that we need some immigrant labor, but I don't think we need the quantities that we're bringing in. We're bringing in too many, in my opinion. So anyway, that's something that we're going to have to figure out and deal with. I'm a little concerned about how this is going to impact my family, my daughters and their kids and everything. I think about all that stuff because I look at for me personally, I mean, I've got at best another good 30 years in me, if that, so, it's kind of like I've lived a pretty good life up to this point. I've had the opportunity to do some really cool things in my life. I had a really good childhood. I loved my childhood. I got to go and live in Spain for a couple of years when I was younger and spend a couple of years overseas. I've traveled back a couple times since then, 3 times actually since then. And I've lived a good life. I have 2 daughters that I'm very proud of. They're healthy. I don't have a whole lot more on my bucket list of things to do. I do have a couple things I want to get done before I go, but one of my goals, personal goals, this is something I'm kind of looking at right now, is I'd like to be able to leave both of my daughters $1 million when I pass away. Now, I know that sounds like a lot, but in this day and time, honestly, $1 million really isn't as much as it used to be. And you can do that in a number of different ways. I have life insurance as part of it. But then, I want to have my assets built up to where, that could be a big part of it too. My house, my investments, and then the life insurance, right? So between all of that, try to leave both of my daughters $1 million. I need to get some estate documents drawn up. That's something I probably need to do in the next year or 2. Figure all of that out. Once I have kind of my cash built up, I should have more cash in the bank than I do. Most people tell you to have 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses in the bank, most financial advisors. But I've been throwing everything at paying off debt. I've been really aggressive about paying off debt the last 2 years. And I sold a bunch of stuff. I'm kind of mad at myself because I had a big hoard of silver at home. And I sold all of it. Well, not all of it, but pretty much all of it. I guess probably about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. And I used the money to pay down debt, which wasn't a bad return. But now when you look at the price of silver, I'm like, man, I could have held out a couple of years longer. And, but who knew that silver was going to go up 70% this year, right? I mean, nobody knew that. I do still have some silver, but not that much. Mostly in coins, like some Morgan silver dollars and some older coins that had silver content in them. I don't have the pure bullion anymore that I had. I had 100 ounces of silver at home, which today would be worth about a little over $5,500 or so. I think when I sold them, I think I got about 3,000. I think it was around $30 an ounce when I sold them. So I lost out on about $2,500 there. It's like, that'll make you think. But I was just being very, very aggressive trying to pay off debt. Anyway, so that's where we are. I'm just concerned. It's hard not to be concerned with the way things are, the way I see things shaping up. I have become very determined that once I'm going to build up a cash hoard, and I'm going to buy a piece of land, and I'm going to buy it miles and miles and miles away from any city of any size of any size. I was wanting to buy one. I was wanting to buy it in North Carolina, but when I look at North Carolina, it's like almost anywhere where you are in North Carolina, there's going to be a city or pretty close by. I mean, even in the mountains, you go up toward the mountains, it's like you got Asheville, you've got Mount Airy up to the north up here, and you got some other towns, you got Boone. It's like, I want a piece of land that's 100 miles from any town, from any sizable town. And it's not easy to find that these days. I might have to look into the middle of the country somewhere to buy a piece of land that my daughters could go to if things kind of get a little shaky, you know what I mean? I may still look in the mountains. The Appalachians are a pretty good natural defense. So I may still look at that. But I'm just going to have to look. My aunt and uncle have a 200-acre farm up in the mountains of North Carolina. And I kind of look. I mean, they're not far from Mount Airy, but I think they're far enough out that they're not real accessible either. It's like, you know, it's kind of, I mean, they are accessible. There's a road that goes from Mount Airy into Virginia, but it's just, I don't know. I want something that's pretty remote, you know, and just. The mountains probably are a good place to go. Maybe even deeper into Appalachia. I don't know. I'm really concerned about where things are going. The cities are just becoming I don't know. Americans are just not the same as they once were. I don't like the change. I don't think it's been a positive change for our country. I would really like to see our country just a better class of people, a better stock of people with values and morals again. The moral values have just died in this country, it feels like. It's just, I don't know. I think the internet's done a lot of damage to people, just in general. Anyway, I'm going to get going to my parents' house. You guys have a great day. And this is Don Pelayo checking out.